thinkers. So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the third session of Truth and Healing. Before I introduce the speaker, a moment's silence, please. So greetings, everyone. It gives me great pleasure to once again welcome Dr. Monica Gilatti within our midst. She's an immunologist by training who realized that scientific research was not her calling while she was studying at the University of Zurich. Actually, cancer was her wake-up call, and it made her realize that her truth was the way of the heart. She lives fearlessly through every movement, reading every inner message in meeting the challenges of existence. A relentless explorer, she feels grace to be on the inner journey, hand in hand with her fellow travelers. Monica, incidentally, is also an editor of NAMAH, the Journal of Integral Health, so she works very closely with us and is actively engaged in spreading her vision on her own online platform, Living Life, that she might share with us a bit about. The subject of her session this evening is becoming conscious of falsehood. So looking forward to this session, and over to you, Monica.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you for the opportunity once again to have such a platform where we can reflect together on these themes and talk about it. So, namaste to everyone, some familiar faces and some new. Good to see you here, good to be here with all of you. So today, I'm going to use a series of slides. If that is okay, we can pause in between and take a break and reflect. But I thought it'll be nice for me because I prepare slides and then I forget about the slides most of the times. So today I'm going to try to stick to the slides just for a sake of uniformity. So the theme that we have chosen for today, since the overall broad theme is truth and healing. So somewhere we recognize that truth heals and falsehood causes us troubles and misery and suffering. So I thought maybe it would be nice for me, reflections coming from my personal journey also, to become conscious of the falsehood. So just like if we have a house, we don't bring cleanliness from somewhere outside. We look at the dirt and the dust, we become conscious of it, and we clean the house. So that's why they say that we all have the Buddha nature or the divine within us, but there is so much garbage also, which is still lying along with the divine presence, and we don't know, what to do, and we don't even recognize that it is garbage, first of all, and always are taking the sides of falsehood, not knowing that it is hurting us. So today we are going to just see what Sri Aurobindo and Mother, in their light, in their words, how to become conscious of falsehood and how to clean our inner temple so that a divine presence can be installed there. So with that background, I'll just share the screen. So hope it's visible to everyone.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, James. So falsehood is in red, like a red signal, beep, 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 beep. So there are a reason for these colors, and becoming conscious is in green because that is the savior for us. And falsehood is like a signal, just like when suffering comes, it is like a signal, something is wrong, some way we have taken which is not the right way for us. So the very first step, why would I walk this journey at all, is to become conscious of falsehood. Why should I become conscious of falsehood? The first step is that there must be, as mother says, that you must get disgusted by the previous older ways of your life. Because if my life right now is very beautiful, it can't be if we are living in egoistic state. But if my life is okay, things are okay, I don't want to really change. Why would I change? There is hardly any suffering. I've gotten used to whatever little suffering is there. Then we won't want a change. And that's why mother says that pain and suffering come as a blessing in our lives because they compel us to undergo a change, a radical shift in our consciousness. And why would I want to, for example, learn driving? Because I want to drive a car, right? So that would be my motivation to learn driving. Why would I want to learn swimming? Because I want to swim. So why would I want to become conscious of falsehood? Because I want to live in truth. Because looking at that, when I live in falsehood, it gives me misery and also causes so much hurt to others around. So there has to be an initial, I think, a push. Otherwise, there's no point. Why would I even start on the journey? For most of us, I'm just assuming that would be the case with most of us, pain or suffering or difficult challenges, difficult, challenging situations, they bring us to the path. Because then the life is not as we liked it should be. And we want resolution, we want peace in ourselves. So we think about, okay, let me see what it is trying to tell me. So the first step in becoming conscious of falsehood then would be that I must want a new, simpler, because right now my life is too complicated, and a higher life where every lower instinct can be turned into something really, completely into its extreme higher opposite. Also, as mother says, that there has to be a disgust of the older ways of life. I have lived as this person who I am for a long, long time. And in that, I have caused so much hurt to my own self and to others. So there has to be this disgusted, feeling with the ways that I've been living so far, so that now I begin to change. Now I begin to transfigure. So there has to be an aspiration that I want to become a purer version of myself. I want to remove all the dust and dirt and filth from my being. So the process of purification then can start. And how do we start the process? That we would have this I, which all of us have. This I, all of us have. Now, you may go to musical concerts. Some of us may have a musical background, some of us may not have a musical background. And even then, you will see that whenever the musician or the performer, or even if it is a vocalist, he is out of tune, immediately something in me recognizes that. I may not have a musical background, but yet something in me recognizes that this was out of tune. How? So just like that, whenever we are face to face with falsehood or darkness or ignorance and truth, like something which is pure and beautiful, there is a light in us, this consciousness that we call, or many teachers also call, is the presence of awareness, which can distinguish, which can discern, okay, this is my ill will and this action was done with a good will. This was manipulative agenda, this was done with a clean heart, good heart. So there is something in us which can identify and discern when the falsehood arises. So that is where we will be banking upon this light of consciousness, discernment, which can see this is filth, this is purity. So I have to now clean the filth. And each one of us has it, like it's ingrained. That's what we call the divine presence, because it becomes conscious of the falsehood. That's what can clean. So that would be the first guiding step. Anything here? I'll keep stopping in between if there are any questions or comments in between. Okay, so I'm going forward. If there is anything, please unmute and do share. So I'm just taking a few quotes from Mother Shri Aurobindo in order for us to understand what is falsehood. So wherever they say about falsehood, I have colored it red so that it comes out for us. And wherever they give us a solution to the falsehood, that is colored in a light green. I hope we can all see it. So these are words by the mother. With sparkling humor, Sri Aurobindo endeavors to make us understand the falsehood of the ordinary human consciousness. And then they give us the remedy and the luminous and all-powerful joy of the divine consciousness we must acquire. So again, what is falsehood? The ordinary human consciousness. What is ordinary human consciousness? My identification with my thoughts, my identification with my feelings, emotions, moods, mood swings, and my identification with this body sense perceptions. Me, my story, my relatives, my family. So this identification with the surface movement, what they also call outer being, the surface personality, that is the cause of, or that is the falsehood. So falsehood of the ordinary human consciousness, and the remedy parallelly is luminous and all powerful joy of the divine consciousness. We'll come to that remedy later also in detail. I'm right now just focusing on what is falsehood. Then in the next one, and yet as Sri Aurobindo has written, the infinite alone exists. Only the falsehood of our superficial perception makes us believe in the existence of finite. So whatever I am, kind of the sensory input, I am a separate person, that person is a separate entity. Why? Because my body ends here, his body starts there. So I can hit him, because when I'm hitting him, I'm not hitting myself. So this is the falsehood of separation, superficial perception. It is true that man is essentially divine, but at present, apart from a few very rare exceptions, man is quite unconscious of the divine he carries within him. We, all of us, would agree with that, that in theory, in intellectualization, we all know that we all are divine, but yet there are only periods of like few glimpses where we can have true touch of this divine presence. So mother says that man is quite unconscious of the divine he carries within him. And it is just this unconsciousness which constitutes the falsehood of material world. So what is the remedy then? Become conscious of the divine presence. When I remain unconscious of the divine presence, then I remain in falsehood, and falsehood rules my life. And then mother says later on, to feel deeply and constantly a total gratitude towards the divine is the best way to be happy and peaceful. And the only true way of expressing one's gratitude to the divine is to identify with him. So she's again giving us the remedy. What is the remedy? If you want to express gratefulness to the divine, to the universe, for giving you this precious human birth so that you can make use of it, what is the way of expressing gratitude? The only true way, mother says, is to identify with him. Don't identify with the thoughts, the feelings, the sense perceptions, me, my story, my stupidities, my awards, my rewards. No. Identify with the presence of divine consciousness within, the one that sees, the one that knows, or a divine name, mother. You identify with that. That is the best way in which we can offer our gratitude to the divine. And then in another anecdote, mother shares to a sadhak who is asking a question in the color which is white. Mother shares that there is some truth in what she says. I won't go into the question because the focus is, but it is mixed with the usual falsehood of human sentimentality. So what do I have to stay away from if I want a higher life? Falsehood of human sentimentality. When we see ourselves emotionally, blackmailing our, we do that, all of us have done that in our own capacity, including myself, we don't even know that it is a falsehood. And we do it as because everywhere in Bollywood or Hollywood movies, that's what is portrayed as love. So we use that emotional blackmailing, emotional sentimentalism, and we label it as love. So mother says that be aware of it. And whenever this mixture arises, look at it and clarify it. Don't follow the dictates of sentimentality when it arises in the being. That's how we become conscious of it. So just finishing these anecdotes and then we can take more reflections. There must be a total and sincere surrender. I think this is taken from the little book, which is The Mother, which Aurobindo has written. I'll also later on share a PDF with all of you. It's a very powerful book. Aurobindo shares that there must be a total and sincere surrender. There must be an exclusive self-opening to the divine power. There must be a constant and integral choice of the truth that is descending. It means truth is descending, but every time, he says, there has to be a constant and integral choice. Each part of my being has to choose truth over my desire, my expectation, my demands, my likings, my preferences. Each time, each moment. It's not that 10 moments I have done that and in 11th I choose falsehood again. So constant, it means moment by moment, and integral. So all the thoughts turn towards truth, all feelings turn towards the mother to truth, and all the body actions also turn towards the truth. And it is a choice that we have to make, because by default it is the ego consciousness. We can be sure about that. Yeah. So and parallelly, what has to be done? A constant and integral rejection of the falsehood of the mental, vital, and physical powers and appearances. So very consciously one has to begin to live a life where mother says that each movement of your being, each ripple of your being must pass through this light of consciousness, and only then that must be allowed. And whatever is garbage must be immediately recognized and, like a vigilant guard, you clear it away. You don't follow the dictate. You stick to the name of the mother or the divine or the breath, whatever helps. And then he gives us a remedy. Although we are going to come to the remedies once again, the remedy is, along with an integral rejection of the falsehood, the dictates of the ego patterns, a glad and strong and helpful submission is demanded to the work of divine force, the obedience of the illumined disciple of the truth, of the inner warrior. Why warrior? Sri Aurobindo talks about the warrior or the Aryan spirit. Why? Because we have so long, for so many years, lived as those patterns, those insecurities, anger, jealousy, blame, me, my story, I am the most right. We have lived as that. So it's very hard many a times to reject it completely and not follow the dictate of that pattern. That's why a warrior, inner warriorship is required. That now I just want the mother, nothing else, and I am not going to listen to the dictate of any manipulation or demand from the ego. It requires a great courage to be with the truth. So that's why the warrior spirit. And this is the true attitude, and only those who can take it and keep it, preserve a faith unshaken by disappointments and difficulties, and shall pass through the ordeal to the supreme victory and the great transmutation. So it's not a path for, one can say, as mother says, for the weak hearted. Although I believe that none of us are weak hearted, we all are full, we have that strength if we want to access that strength. No matter, at times we may fall weak in our knees, but we can regain the inner strength anytime we will it. And the last one, just sharing the last anecdote, mother, it's by the mother. And mother says that it is the unconsciousness of the creation that constitutes the falsehood of the creation. And remedy, as soon as the creation once more becomes conscious of being the Lord, falsehood will cease. So that brings us to our social responsibility. Each one of us has to awaken or unite with the divine presence within if we want to have an earth which also is a divine life. Each one of us. So if we, those of us who want to do social service, what do I do for community? This is one thing which can be parallelly done along with all the outer work that we may do. That always choose the divine, always choose the truth over the patterns of ego, which will always keep on demanding, I am the right, I am the right. Prove yourself that you are right in this argument. Step back from that. My manipulations, my insecurities, step back. Just be content with mother's presence. Nothing doing, no more wants anymore. And only then we can have this quietude in ourselves which can take us far. So these were just a few anecdotes. I think I'll just stop here. In addition, there are more anecdotes, and these are not the only ones. There are like thousands of them if we go into literature by Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So I'll just take a pause here. If there is any question or doubt or anything, if anyone wants to ask anything, or maybe share a reflection or anything, addition. Okay, so I'm assuming this is so far clear and straightforward. Okay, I'll take it forward then. And please, I invite reflections at any point. If there is anything, please do share. So that was the first step. I have to want that I want a higher life, greater life, because the older life doesn't suit me anymore. It's suffering for me and others. And then we become conscious, okay, what is falsehood? So that was a few anecdotes where we can see, okay, what is the falsehood that I have to become conscious of? So the falsehood of separation, the falsehood of I am a limited self, the other guy is a limited self, so I can do harm and hurt the other person and I will be safe. That's not going to work. That's what is happening to the whole planet. We thought that we can destroy the planet and be safe ourselves. But things don't.
राजू तुम्हारा नंबर एक बार बोलो.
Things don't work that way.
नंबर में नहीं है.
हाँ हाँ हाँ.
Okay, so I'm muting Ankita ji. Yeah. So we'll go to the next step, the second, and also we can say it's a simultaneous parallel step, which is I aspire for a higher life. I aspire for more clarity, purity and light in my life and love in my life. Parallelly, I reject the false. That is what we have been discussing through the first step. And along with that, I cultivate a union with the divine or with the pure and true within me. So it's almost like, when we are addicted. For example, I'm addicted to a cigarette. Now, I can't say all the time that, no, I won't have the cigarette. No, I won't have the cigarette. That's not going to work. What would work, and that's what they do in rehabilitation places where, people are getting de-addicted. Along with leaving the cigarettes, I am also putting my energies in a place which is of my natural inclination, which gives me joy and delight, which can channel my energies. So it may be music for somebody. It may be learning a new instrument, whatever brings me joy, maybe nature walks, using my hands with clay, pottery, gardening. Each one of us has unique, talents and abilities. So along with doing the neti of the false, rejecting the false, I have to parallelly know, okay, now what do I identify with? I am disidentifying with the false. Okay, I am not the ego pattern. I am not my insecurity. I am not my mood. Who am I? So that has to be cultivated. And then we step back from that surface movement. So there is a breather, like there is a space. This is the surface movement, my moods, insecurities, thoughts, feelings. Now, earlier I was like this. Now I am looking at them. So there is a space. And who looks is the awareness. So I am the consciousness which becomes conscious of all the surface movements. And again, I'm paraphrasing Mother's words where she says that know this consciousness as yourself, which has not been changing since the time you have been here. Childhood stories have been changing. You went to college, body changed, thoughts changed, feelings changed all the time. What is one thing which never changes? She says, consciousness. Because that was what was conscious of the things changing. I am conscious that, okay, in the morning I was thinking this, now I am thinking this. But the consciousness did not change. Oh, I am aware, yesterday I was in a happy mood, and today, see, I am in a sad mood. Who is aware? This divine consciousness within us. So, parallelly, as I reject the identification with the falsehood, I have to cultivate union with the divine, which is this consciousness. So let us focus on this union now, along with the words of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. So knowing that as long as this physical body is there, some or the other falsehood or ignorance will be there. Some or the other, we can't escape it. Somehow that comes like a free gift along with this, the physical form that we take. The curtain of mind, life, vital, the curtain of physical consciousness. So knowing very well our reality, that as long as I have this physical body, there would be presence of falsehood, ignorance in its own, degrees. So what can I do? I can be sincere and I can be vigilant. Sincere to know that all I want is truth. So even if I have to undergo some humiliation to step back from my older self, let me undergo some humiliation. Why? Because I want to take the side of truth. So not trying to preserve my self-image or anything, nothing matters now. Only thing that matters is, am I by the side of divine or am I fueling the falsehood? So sincerity on my part, and a vigilance. And Mother says a vigilance which is 24/7, it's not faltering even for a moment. What are the thoughts crossing my being? What are the thoughts I am following? What are the feelings I am following all the time? What are the storylines that I am following? Are they pure? Are they divine? Or are they full of falsehood? So vigilance. To become conscious of the dust and filth and to clean it. Just like we clean a house, we keep our house pretty nice, tidy and clean. Just like that, I have to keep my inner sanctuary very clean. And at one point of time, Mother says that there should be an unease if any filth and dirt you begin to follow. If I begin to follow the dictate of ego consciousness, immediately you should feel a pang in your heart that no, this is not right. Something I followed which is not right. So that is my signal of following the right. And in Mother's prayers and meditations, we have this one of the prayers where she says that something was done and the action was not in full consecration to the divine, and I felt a pang in my heart, the phrase that she uses, and suddenly to correct it, I plunged into the divine consciousness and asked for the aspiration to set things right, and may all the mistakes be healed. So purifying aspect, I become conscious of the dirt and filth. I put effort in purification, rejecting all that is undivine, impure, negative, destructive, mean, divisive. All of us know whenever these thoughts arise. We don't have to tell anyone. This is just inner work. And in thoughts, feelings, and action, we do this purification. So all the thoughts turn towards truth, all the feelings turn towards truth, No demands, no expectations from anyone. Only divine is what I am banking upon. And in my action, all the actions is full of intentions which are beneficial and good. There are no hidden manipulations in my action. So I'm sorry, it's just like a concentrated something, but I think we can just keep it handy. It's a long journey for each one of us, but good to just have these pointers from Mother and Sri Aurobindo to remind us again and again. So this I already shared with you, that we have to disidentify with the disturbance and impurities and identify or cultivating union with the divine consciousness. And a very good example of this cultivation of divine union with divine consciousness, all of us can have in Mother's prayers and meditations. Yeah. So I'm going to take a few lines from Mother's prayers and meditations, very helpful reminders there, how to cultivate this union with the divine consciousness. So for those of us who are interested, I can share the PDF again. It's available online also, and good to go through at least one prayer per day, just for our own self. Okay, yeah. So yeah, I've taken a few excerpts from Mother's prayers and meditations. Mother says, how many times a day still I act without my action being consecrated to thee, I at once become aware of it by an indefinable uneasiness, the uneasiness that we were talking of, which is translated in the sensibility of my body by a pang in my heart. So as if you have done something which is just not aligned with the truth. Now you know. Just like we have dal mein kala, in Hindi, you have pulses and you have some stone in the pulses or the lentils. And immediately you recognize, okay, this is a stone, I have to pick it out. And then she shares, then I make my action objective to myself, and it seems to me so ridiculous, childish, all blameworthy. We can blame ourselves, why did I follow the dictate of the ego? Why did I not follow the truth? So for once she blames. I deplore for a moment, I am sad, until, again the remedy, until I dive into thee. And there, losing myself with a child's confidence, I await from thee the inspiration and strength needed to set right the error in me and around me, two things that are one. So, this remedy again and again comes, and there are other anecdotes also that I have shared in the slides, which I'll put it forward to James and he can share with everyone. So here Mother gives us first that, okay, disturbance happens. Identification with the ego consciousness is a happening in our life. It happens. That's where we start from. But we don't have to stay there. So in every prayer, you will see she's going for ultimate solace, inspiration, peace, clarity. Where is she going? She's not going into the thoughts and trying to connect the dots there. She's saying, I plunge into thee. So you plunge deeply in either Mother's name, for those of us who have belief in the Mother, have a connection with the Mother. You just immerse yourself like in waters of the Mother. There is nothing but the ocean of Mother, and you plunge yourself into it. And that's where she says, that's where I find solace, and I aspire that may the error be set right, whatever error or hurt has happened through the pattern of the ego consciousness. So there are other anecdotes also there which I have put forward. I may not be able to share them all, but the remedy, the crux appears again and again in Mother's prayers and meditations. So we don't have to try to set the error right in the head. We drain our energies there. Notice the error, notice the mistake, and again plunge into divine consciousness. That's it. Nothing doing. For a complicated mind, it is very simple process. So a complicated mind may just remove the process. It says, how simple is that? It can't be working. But we have to practice it ourselves to see how much it works. All of us have to experiment for our own selves. So anything here, I'll just take a break again. Anyone? Yeah, anyone? Anything? Okay, so I'm continuing. Uh, if there is no reflection, again, again, this is taken from Mother's Prayers, December 5, 1912. She says, yes, we should not put too much intensity, too much effort in our seeking for thee. The effort and intensity become a veil in front of thee. So many a times we are thinking to ourselves, oh, I can't feel the mother, I can't feel the mother, I have to feel the mother. Many a times it happens that I can't feel the divine presence. So she says that when we are so agitatedly putting effort, that agitation itself, mental agitation, it obscures the divine presence. It's almost like, you imagine that there are many gadgets which are switched on in your room, and you can't taste the silence in the room. Why? Because there are noise, background chatter, ta 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 ta, from every side. The moment all the chatter of the gadgets is dampened, maybe at night when everything is calm, quiet, then you hear the music of the silence. It's not that the music of silence was not present 24/7, it was, but it was just clouded by that noise, the background noise. So that's what she says, and it is in the most complete peace, serenity, and equality that all is thou. And when there is mental agitation settled, the mind is focused with the mother, with the breath, relaxed, no mental calculation going on, for no reason. Then we have this complete serenity, peace, and equality. No haste, no inquietude, no tension, she says. And she says this is better than all the meditations in the world. This plunge into that peace, equanimity, equality, which is forever present, but it gets clouded by the mental agitation. Yeah, so not taking everything, just going back to this slide where I was talking about this parallel cultivation of the union with the divine. Parallelly, very simply, in the meantime, when the ego is not dissolved, in the meantime, when I know that I still work from the ego consciousness, what to do? Rejoice in the happiness of others. When we see others happy, instead of feeling many a times jealousy propping up, that you shrink, that I don't have that success but he has that. So instead of that shrinking, when we become conscious of that shrinking in myself, what do? I rejoice in the happiness of others. How happy that person would be that he's having a good time. And Aurobindo shares a very good anecdote, like a small story of Devadatta and Harish Chandra. I'll share it later from Isha Upanishad's commentary, where he says that imagine that Harish Chandra has more material wealth and success. Now you are asking me, Devadatta, who is not having that much of material success, to be happy in the success of Harish Chandra. How do you expect me to do that? So then he shares that I, Devadatta, should be rejoicing in the happiness of Harishchandra only because when I rejoice in his happiness, I am identifying with my true diviner self, which is also present in Harishchandra as well as in me. So who is rejoicing in Harishchandra? Of course, I am. Through Harishchandra, who rejoices? Me, the divine self. Through Devadatta, who rejoices? Me, the divine self. So again, he gives us an example of how to cultivate, because this has to be cultivated, it has to be practiced before it becomes effortless. How to cultivate this union with that divine presence, which is one and all, which is presence in all. So parallelly, we cultivate a good heart, and the moment we recognize a ill will in me, not wanting good for anyone, maybe wanting some negative to happen to anyone, this is present in each one of us. To notice it and to immediately say, not following its dictate, okay, may that person have happiness and true joy and enlightenment in this life. May that person unite with his divine presence. So wishing the very best for each person around us. So that's how we cultivate a good heart in the meantime. cultivating kindness and generosity. And generosity is like a antidote for a begging self, because all the time ego is me. Look, I am not satisfied. My expectation, my story, my demand. Nobody is giving me attention. So instead of that beggar self, we say, okay, what can I do for you? Complete self-forgetfulness. And how can I benefit someone else today? So that's how parallelly we can cultivate these qualities as well. And how compassion comes, because we see that I am suffering so badly when I am in ignorance and ego. So this is how so many of my fellow beings suffer. Just like I am not satisfied in my life and suffering because of that. How many millions of us suffer when they don't have connection with the divine presence. So compassion comes, and one is able to understand the pain of humanity and wish well for everyone. May everyone have a true connection with their divine presence. So that's it. And the last, where I want to just wind up and we can take more reflections in the last 10 minutes. Mother says that it would, and perhaps it would be enough if some individuals become pure gold. And all of us today who are present in the session today, now I'm sure we are at such stages of our life that we can do this. We have ran enough for our expectations, wants, and demands, haven't we? And suffered enough because of that. And just like I am suffering, begging from the world, something or the other, millions of us suffer. So can I be one drop of poison less? Can I now stop my begging at least? So she says that it would be just enough if some individuals become pure gold. For this would be enough to change the course of events. Just few individuals. She is not yet asking, okay, all of us. Few who are ready. We are faced with this necessity in a very urgent way. This courage, this heroism which the divine wants of us, why not use it to fight against one's own difficulties, one's own imperfections, one's own obscurities? Why not heroically face the furnace of inner purification so that it does not become necessary to pass once more through one of those terrible, gigantic destructions which plunge an entire civilization into darkness? So this is like the most urgent need that we are faced with. It's not most urgent that I should have all the 3 meals throughout the day. Most urgent is, am I acting in identification with my divine presence throughout the day? And those of us who are today in the session, at least for them I can vouch, I think we are ready. I think we are ready. We can put our demands, our begging self at the bay and just stick to the mother. Yeah, I'm not just going about this. We can read it later. The slides will be shared. I just want to share that mother has made the task so easy for us. I mean, what can be simpler? There was this, anecdote being in circulation by, I think, Aurobindo Center, Los Angeles, where there was this anecdote by Udar Pinto, and he was asking, Mother, I don't know whether I am following Aurobindo's yoga or not, whether how far I have come, how much progress I have made, I don't know. And she says, you are doing it all wrong. And then he's like, eyes open. And she says that, just offer yourself to me. I will do the yoga for you. You don't have to take the trouble all by yourself. And then he says that, okay, well, how do I do that? And then she says, okay, what is the first thing you do in the morning? He says that I brush my teeth, and I'm thinking about random thoughts and brushing my teeth. So she says that when you are brushing your teeth, just be with me. When you are eating, be with me. When you are sleeping, be with me. Talk to me, communicate to me. So in all the activities that we are doing, nothing forbidden, all the activities, everything included, She says, just be with me and I will do the yoga for you. I don't know of any path so simple that all I have to do is to cling to the mother, not cling to my thoughts, because thoughts are falsehood. So whenever I see that I am again getting drained into the vicious circulating loop of thoughts and feelings and me and my story and demands, immediately recognizing it, clinging just to the mother, telling the mother, mother, for me, you are enough. Mother, for me, you are enough. So settling the mind on the mother, the being, mental, vital being on the mother, the physical being on the mother. And then we have this famous mantra that Sri Aurobindo gave, Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. So if we want Ananda, which is the true bliss that we are all craving for, if we want consciousness, to become conscious of our being, to regain our kingdom, and if we want truth, since the talk is about truth and healing, what to do? Cling to the mother. So there is this link which I thought I'll share with all of you. It's just this recitation of this mantra, Om Anandamayi Chaitanyamayi Satyamayi Parame. I'll put it on the, just a second. Yeah, I'll put it on the WhatsApp group, and yeah, one can use it as a meditation mantra, like a background music, just to bring the mind to the mother and settle it, stabilize it on the mother, that I want nothing else from this world. Just clinging to the mother is enough for me. I don't want anything else. Because from time to time, we will want something or the other. And then we will bring the puppy back and bring the mind again to the mother. So I believe this is the golden key, because if we settle ourselves with the mother, we have Ananda, we have consciousness, Chaitanya, and we have the truth, Satya. So I think I've really said too much today.
Oh, it's beautiful, Monica. Rather than cling to the mother, though, perhaps we should give ourselves to the mother, like a baby cat, you know?
Yes, yes.
Give ourselves to the mother, so we're carried by her.
Yes, abandoning ourselves to the mother.
Yes, so because the clinging seems to suggest a certain amount of franticness.
Yes, yes. I think I would also go with abandoning oneself to the mother rather than the word clinging. Yes. Yeah,
That's
thank
right.
you. Yes.
Yeah.
So we can take up a few reflections.
Yes, that would be nice.
Yeah.
It'd be nice if some people could share their thoughts about this particular session.
Yes.
I see Yuan is here. How are you, Yuan? Yeah. Does anyone?
Great, thank you. I couldn't attend the previous talks, and I will do today. I'm so
Okay.
happy to be here. Monica and James.
So I would share also on WhatsApp group. I wanted to share a few. I don't know. Many of us have been on the path for a long time, so you may already have access to many books and readings by the mother. But this small book I would recommend for those of us who have not. I don't know if it's clear or not. It's a very little book, very cheaply priced. Truth is
Oh, yes.
truth is priceless, they say, so it comes very. So it's by the it's called The Mother by Sri Aurobindo, and it again and again gives many pointers of how to follow the path of truth and leave the falsehood.
It's
How
an incredible condensation of wisdom in that particular.
Absolutely, yes.
And the practice of sadhana is very clearly elucidated. Yeah.
Very clear, yes.
Yeah. The surrender and the sense of descent. Yeah. Yeah. So does
Yeah, hi.
Yes, Gauri.
And Monica and everyone. So that was a lovely session indeed. And for me, there were some very useful reminders. And one particular thing highlighted like a very bright light is the gratitude that you define, that the best way to give the gratitude or to offer gratitude is to identify with the divine. So that is something, a beautiful thing that that has become the highlight for me today. And of course, the whole session was wonderful, very useful indeed. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Thank you.
Monica, I have one questions and also one reflections. Thanks for this wonderful session. And actually, when we see the consciousness, it's when the purity we can see within. But when we encounter with the social structure, for example, I'm going outside, I have to buy something, I'll do some bargaining, or the social structure is like dragging you to come to the falsehood. And once you are not going to stop within, then it is more towards the falsehood rather than the pure gold situation or pure consciousness. So what to do for such kind of the things, because we are living in is not an ideal world. I won't say this. Ideal world is within ourselves, if we assume. So what to do? Is it only the practice is the way, or how to cope up with these kind of situations?
What do you think, Abhishek? What would be the way?
That's why I'm asking, because I try to be, illuminate myself with a lot of positivity. Many people inspired from me every day. I always talk the positivity. But their question is that sometimes we are stable with the same thoughts, the purity. And then most of the time they're unstable due to the external forces.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely. And as Mother shares that all the difficulties lie within us. So I think it is also a chance for me to see that my peace, the solidity of faith, and my power is not yet stabilized enough that it can have an external influence so great that it can, it can absorb that vibration of the falsehood externally. Just like we have shock absorbers in car or motorcycles, So shock absorbers don't bother about the shocks because they can absorb all the shocks. They have so much solidity. So our peace has to become so solid. The faith has to become so unshakable with the mother that it just absorbs all these lower vibrations. And all that is left is this, the contagion of faith, as some people say. Yeah. So it's for me. If I was resonate with you so much because I have also encountered situations where I have not been able to help in outward, the system is corrupt or something like that. And there I have taken it as my learning that my peace, solidity and clarity is not good enough. So I have to give some time to stabilize so much in myself that it spills itself out. Yeah. Thank you. Yes, Rajesh.
Yeah, I would like to expand what Mr. Abhishek is saying. Maliciousness. Maliciousness is something which only exists in human beings out of billions of species around. So yes, we can be positive, as Abhishek is saying. We can take responsibility. The default or difficulty may be lying with us. But how we really understand maliciousness?
Rajeshji, have you never yourself have been malicious? Just take a moment and think about it.
I won't say no, but
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that maliciousness which is milder undertone. I'm talking about the real maliciousness, very intentional one. There are two phenomena. One are which you are questioning, which you question Abhishek also, which is part of our personality, which unconsciously goes over here. Consciously, I would vouch, I have never been malicious.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
I'm miles and miles away from conscious maliciousness.
Yeah.
But unconscious maliciousness, I cannot say I had been there or not.
Yes.
I'm talking about those who are intentionally harming for their advantage.
Yeah.
In families, in communities, in societies, in states, in institutions. And when people suffer, For example, now we are discussing, for example, sexual trauma which young girls come across. How the young girl would understand that malicious sexual trauma?
Yeah.
What sort of spirituality can help her?
Yes. I would say not even questioning what sort of spirituality, only spirituality can help in such kind of trauma. Because, first of all, it's very hard. And mother says that, look, what a horrible nightmare. I think these are the words that they use. What a horrible nightmare we create for ourselves when we live in ego consciousness. So those people who maybe you are, commenting about that, such maliciousness present in the outside world. Now this becomes even my greater and urgent responsibility to unite even greater and, have this union with the divine consciousness even stabler, so that I get that clarity and inspiration from within. Okay, what is the right stand in this state that I have to take? There is no other hope. There is no other hope. So if each one of us sticks to, okay, I am not going to get enlightened, I don't have to unite with my divine presence, because look how they are living. So what is the difference between me and them? Nothing. So if you want to contribute, because I look from your intentions that you feel very strongly for it and you want to contribute, if you want to really contribute and have that clarity in intelligence and wisdom, okay, what is the right step to do, and have the intuitive insights, what would the divine want me to do in this case, what is the right stand, we will have to unite with the divine. There is no other hope for us.
But Monica, there's a problem, because you talk about the inner warrior, and
Yeah.
I understood the inner warrior is the fight between your conscious mind and subconscious mind. So that is also important. It means how to understand, or how to calm down the unconscious mind and go toward the conscious mind. So it's a fight between only these two. That's why many people are in India and abroad, they are facing this psychological issue with and problems and with this. So though the external environment is whatever they are, but what we are inside is a fight between the unconscious and the conscious mind.
Absolutely. They talk about this Deva and Asura Sangram, which is going on within us all the time. The gods and the titans are fighting within us all the time. And your sharing reminds me of one very recent interview which I saw. So Shraddha Van, who lived in Aurobindo, recently she left her body, and there was an interview which was aired on many YouTube channels. In that interview, she shared something which has still stayed with me. And she was talking about this internal turmoil within Aurobindo and the flat ego clashes and all that going on. And she said that if we want the Aurobindo which mother wanted, then we have to be the Aurovillians that the mother would want us to be. So if we want a life divine on earth, each one of us will have to become that divine man which Sri Aurobindo and mother want really to take us forward to. If not, we cannot have a divine life on earth. If we always keep blaming others, because others we can't fix. Mother says that if you can fix the other, okay, work upon it. Like my child, if I tell my child something, he would listen. So I can transform him, change him, like a mother's love, can change him. But there are people who are totally out of your control. You can't change them. So
That's
how?
why
Yeah.
Once the dust enter to our home, we need to clean up.
Yes.
That's important.
So I think parallel, we have to do it parallelly, because union with the divine consciousness is not that easy.
Yes.
And the problem is that we forget. So today we may have a session. It really comes to me, okay, I have to now give some time to remembering the mother and whatever I'm doing. After 2 days, the session fades away. And the older pattern comes, take me over, and I'm nowhere close to union with the divine consciousness. Why? Because I've forgotten. So if it's not urgent for me, life is still rule me. I'm still having 3 meals per day. My house is okay. My children are okay. Why do I bother union with the divine? But if I do care about this earth and the fellow beings, which Rajesh ji was so concerned about, I will have to devote every day precious time to this union in every activity also, and taking breaks in between. If not, then it means it's just I don't really want it. I can talk about it, but I don't really want it. Yeah. So we have to become a bit serious about it. I mean, take it all in cheerfulness and a fun loving attitude, but yet still be a bit serious about it.
Yeah, you already said
Yeah.
some individual has to be pure gold.
Yes.
Yeah, and consciously and continually remember
Yes.
the divine that's in us.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So thank you, Abhishek and Rajesh ji, for your questions. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Okay, so thank you everyone for giving so much time. Good.
Yeah. Thank you, Monica.
Thank you, James.
So tomorrow, I believe we have Dr. Don Salmon, very, very interesting speaker. Till then, bye everyone, and sleep well, and remember and offer.
Thank you. Thank you, James.
Thank you.
Bye everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, James.
Thank you.